What's going on, everyone? Indeed, it's a Saturday edition. There he is, 27 and Q, alongside the two-time Super Bowl champ, running back from the New York Football Giants, number 27, Brandon Jacobs. I'm Rich Quinones. Not bad getting it in on a Saturday afternoon, right? We'll pop this
No,
up
man,
on
it's
the YouTube channel
pretty
later.
good.
College
Pretty good.
football today. Don't even get me started. I think are your Tigers tied with the Tigers right now at the half? I don't know the latest here with Auburn. No?
I don't know either.
All right, that's
I
fine.
don't know either.
Already shaking his head. All right, whatever. I know Clemson's up on Wake, Georgia's up on Kent State, Bama, Vandy, Wisconsin, Ohio State play later tonight. But we got a ton of stuff to get into, B. And we've got crazy stories floating around in college with Herm Edwards. We've got the Boston Celtics situation. And then how about last night? Now, it doesn't have to be sexy. It doesn't have to be pretty. But at the end of the day, Shakur Stevenson did what he had to do. And look, I know you and we've been talking about this the last couple of days. I get it, right? I mean, you're trying to lose that pound plus, right? To get to that 130 doesn't happen. He's got to vacate those two titles, WBC and WBO. But it was only a matter of time before he was going to get ticketed to 135. So I get it. All I'm saying is, if it's other fighters out there that are missing weight, these guys are getting ripped. Now, again, that's a story probably for another day, but last night against Robeson Concecao, Shakur did what he needed to do, and he got the win, and now it looks like it's going to be 135.
Yeah, that is definitely the consensus. I watched the fight, man. Wasn't overly impressed. You know, that did not look like the Shakur that we have been seeing in the past. You know, maybe because you had a weird opponent. Robson was kind of he long, stretchy jab up to the chest, down, his chest, stomach. He just, I don't know if that fight was. I think if he were to fight again, I think he can actually make 30. I do believe he can make 130. Certain things come around, but when he's never been consistently in trouble with weight. Right. He's never come close. He's always been there. This is the first time, and that was he was over big.
Yeah, and full disclosure, and I was texting you with the updates because I was calling the fights in Philly. I got back, the fight already ended. I have to go back and watch it, but I know this from Shakur, and the knock. And I personally, I like him. I think he's an extremely talented fighter. I remember this kid from the Army ranks, New Jersey Golden Gloves, and then of course, the emotion when he lost a medal and whatnot. So I like this kid. He's a tough kid. He's a Newark, New Jersey kid. Unique backstory and upbringing and whatnot, and he's friggin' talented. But for the boxing, I guess you can say the fanatics out there, they don't look at him as a sexy, aesthetically pleasing, TV-friendly type of fighter. And hey, man, it doesn't matter. You punch in, you punch out, right? I mean, it doesn't matter how you get the W. You're going to get paid. You're going to move up. You're going to have opportunities. You got that southpaw jab. He moves around. He knows how to fight in the pocket. He doesn't get hit. He's a very smart defensive fighter, and the punch placement is there. So a lot of the boxing heads out there don't find that so appealing. You said it last night. You were texting me saying, this is a boring fight. I get it. But sometimes you don't have a willing dance partner. And it's not always
right. Absolutely.
A sexy fight.
Absolutely. That's what I'm saying. Your fighter kind of dictates the fight. He had to be careful. Obviously, he couldn't just run in and be careless, make things happen and make excitement. You got to be careful. And like I said, Robson was a weird, awkward looking fighter to me. You know what I'm saying? So he had to be extra careful about being too aggressive with him.
So you look at 135 and 140, right? You got Shakur, you got Haney, you got Tank, you got Garcia, you got Tio, you got Cruz. I mean, these are young guys, 23, 24. I think the oldest one might
Lomachenko's still there.
Let's not forget about Loma. Exactly. And I think Cruz is 27. So we've got a nice little nutshell nucleus of 135, 140. Do you think Shakur, would it behoove him to try to get through 135, or you believe he should fight at 140?
I think he should fight at 140, and I think he really needs to take some time before his the next fight. If he chose to go 140, I think he needs to take a lot of time, to get himself prepared, work on his strength. Because remember, when a lot of these guys are working out, their weight is in the back of their heads. Their weight is in the back of their mind. I can't add too much muscle. I can't do this. I can't do that. So people have been saying the knock on Shakur is his power, right? So now you're up to 140. Now you got a whole 10-pound difference.
Yeah.
A whole 10-pound difference from when you last fought. You got a chance to lift weights. You got a chance to eat differently. You're not worried about it. You can even come into the fight making 35, 34, and be strong and be sharp. Feel good on weigh-ins. Eat food on weigh-ins. And stay at that weight class for a very long time. Now, they have dogs at the weight class, obviously. And I'm not trying to take away anything from a lot of those guys at 140, right? There's some strong fighters, but tell me out of the top guys. You got Josh Taylor, you got T.O.,
yep,
you got Ramirez, and you got Regis. Do you see him not being able to beat any one of those fighters?
I can still throw the name escapes me. Jose Ramirez. Taylor, we saw him against Catterall, the English kid, which was a good fight, a close fight. I think Taylor's an exceptional boxer. We don't know until he's in the ring with these guys. But I want to go back, and I'm not trying to get out of answering this. I want to go back for a second. You said make that jump 10 pounds. Shakur's, I think, 19-0, 9 knockouts. So you think about the knockout to fight ratio, right around 50% or so. So 140, to me, that's a jump. I'm
not denying that part, Rich. I'm not arguing that part. It's definitely a jump. But for the type of fighters that awaits him at 140, do you not see, him being able to outbox?
But then the knock is going to be he's avoiding 135.
You know what? And the good thing about it is, for me, Rich, I'm talking to you as a boxing manager versus a fanatic, a fan of the thing.
Okay, go as management, then put the fan hat on. Go ahead. Go management first.
So I'm looking at the fighters at 140, and there's a 10-pound jump. He got a chance to train for a good bit, get stronger, add more, weight to him, just keep his same boxing style you have and be able to. Now, if these guys were some big time aggressive, killers, and seeing them just stopping everybody, then I'd be like, maybe we should try 35. But that's not the case in 140. There is no guy there that's really doing that like that.
And that kind of makes my point. Let me see if he can get through 135. That's all I'm saying.
I think you got more killers at 35 than you do at 40.
Yeah. So again, right? Let me see. Go up, put your big boy pants on now. Go up against some of these guys. I'm not going to say clean out the division. I even throw your name at 135 that I think would be a hell of a fight that no one's talking about. Right out of Philadelphia, Tevin Farmer.
Make five. Let's make $4 to $6 million, right? Let's make $4 to $6 million. Like all of these guys you see, Tank and all these guys. Let's let these fights happen at 147. Why do they have to happen now with these fighters? Let's see those fights when they're really into their prime and like Floyd did a lot of times. It ain't that he was scared of any of those guys. It's just business. Let's make this minimal, $3 to $6 million for each one of these fights from fighting 40, going to fighting 140, like all those guys, Josh Taylor, Regis, them guys are going to be going to 54 really soon.
Yeah.
Really soon. Fight the bottom half of it. You don't have to fight those guys. You could do that for a long time, make a whole bunch of money, and then fight Tank, fight Ryan Garcia, guys like that, when they move up to 47.
47.
When you're there. Yeah. All of these guys are young. Like that, that's what I'm saying. Like people want to see, I want to see the fight now. Like I want to see the fight now. But sometimes that's not the best thing for the fighter financially when you can make money and still be a champion.
Well, I think he made $2 to $3 million last night. So that's not a bad payday for. All I'm saying is, look, we thought we were going to see Mickey Bay against Tevin Farmer. For whatever reason, there's a running joke that the money got lost on the train somewhere. I think Farmer, who was a former IBF champ, I think the kid is ridiculously technically sound. He's a very good fighter. He's an exceptional boxer. He's smart. He's got the ring IQ, the acumen. I would love to see that fight down the road if those other names at 135 can't be made. So I guess where we agree to disagree, I get what you're saying. I look at it as, okay, if you want to be the man, beat the man. So if Shakur were to fight Tank Davis right now, based on the body of work, who would win that fight?
Well, I gotta go with Tank. I gotta go with Tank out the door. You know why? Because of the, right now, let's say he took that fight a year from now, right? And that's the guy he's fighting, and he got time to train, get himself stronger, right? And then I'll say, Shakur, but Tank, the boy has been hit. The boy took some good punches, and he go for he's Mike Tyson with more skill. He's Mike Tyson with more skill, so I gotta go Tank there.
Listen, if Shakur's smart, and he is a smart fighter, he's gonna try to use a little bit of that height advantage. I mean, Tank's what, 5'5"? Shakur Stevenson's 5'8", which is a big difference when you think about it, when you're going against a guy with substantial power in Tank. So what am I going to do? I'm going to use my legs. I'm going to get on the stick a little bit. I'm going to move around, and maybe I'm making it ugly. That's all I'm saying. I know what you're saying. If he fights in the pocket.
Oh my God. Yeah. You're
get
covering
it.
my Tyson Fury case.
Yeah, come on, man. I mean, it doesn't matter. Tuesday, Wednesday, on a Saturday, you still, right? No,
yeah.
He's smart enough to not want to get hit. I don't believe it's tough for me to sit here and I guess, like we talked about, I think it's that old school mentality where you have to fight who's in front of you, but sometimes those fights don't always happen. And I don't think it's a knock on the fighter. Like, it's the perception now. It's because of social media, right? Everyone's accusing, or these speculation or rumors. This guy's ducking this guy. This guy's afraid of this guy. Hey, man, I go back. Anytime someone says this guy doesn't have a chance in hell, all you got to do, again, I know I'm belaboring the point. Douglas had his night against Tyson. We've seen upsets. We've seen upsets before. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. You think that jump should be 140?
I do, man. I believe the jump. So, like, do you see Shakur being able to beat a Ryan Garcia?
I would love to see a fight like that, because
you would love to see a fight like that. What about? Well, I'm gonna say this: Devin Haney, who also don't have much power. His knockout, ratio is not great. So maybe a guy like that, Lomachenko, I don't know, but I don't see none of the guys, and again, I'm a fan of each one of those guys. I like Regis, because Regis is, the boy's from Louisiana. I'm Louisiana to the bone. So I like him. I like him as a fighter. And I like the fact that we have a fighter that's representing Louisiana, right? Like, don't get me wrong, but I see just him having a way better chance of in 140 versus 35.
Yeah, and you know what people are going to say? I have to go back and really watch the fight twice. I watch it with the sound on, then I watch it with the sound off. But I know what some of the boxing fanatics will say. If you couldn't get him out of there last night, right around the 6th, when you had him in trouble, there's no chance you're going to beat a guy like Tank, right? What do we talk about? The exceptional great fighters, when they stop him, when they knock the guy out, not in the 3rd or 4th, but when it's in the 8th, the 9th, the 10th, that's kind of separate the boys from the men. I mean, listen, I just love what we see right now, 135, 140, and let's not forget, still 147. I mean, I think there's a ton of names that you can throw, but in this case for Shakur, I'm curious to see what he's going to do going forward. And the one thing you never want to do is be trapped as a young fighter, right? Because if other guys aren't willing to take the fight, or they're going to piss and moan and bitch and argue over splits and paydays, then this is what happens. We'll be talking about, these magical or fantasy fights a year from now, all because of the ego, because some of these guys don't want to face each other. I still think, no doubt, that Shakur is a very talented fighter.
I don't necessarily think they don't want to face each other. I just think they want the payment. I think when it comes down to money, I mean, I do think right now, any kind of negotiation in boxing, it should be 60-40 to the person that sells the most tickets. That you shouldn't even negotiate. You don't even negotiate. Your biggest draw get the biggest of the purse. That's what it should always be.
That's when we say A side, B side.
Yeah. So I mean, but people like this Terrence Crawford, Errol Spence fight, right?
Yeah.
It took way too long to even be negotiated. These guys are at 47, man. So these guys should. I think they should. They've been saying Bob Arum. was holding Terrence Crawford back because he didn't want to do business with Al Heyman. All this other stuff that you hear, right? But I still think that fight could have been made because I know Bob personally, I know Todd perfectly, I know all of those, I know everybody there. It had to be something else, you know, in the way. You know, again, A side, B side, the fight should have been happening, but now all of a sudden he does leave Bob and he gets the fight. You know what I'm saying?
Go figure.
So yeah, but I do think that think this is the right time for it. And I thought they should have fought at least a year ago.
Right.
You know? But I think this is now the best time for it. I think they're gonna make a lot of money. And I think it's a possibility they could outsell Floyd and Manny. I believe that.
Well, that fight was the dust, the smoke, the sexiness appeal of that fight was gone by the time they fought. And that's just you can wait a year, but now if you go back, you're talking 2, 3, 4. I mean, come on, that fight. There was no smoke to that, man. I just thought it should have been done years ago, prior to.
You mean Manny and Floyd?
Yeah. Yeah. I think now the buzz is perfect for Spence and Crawford.
Yeah.
To build up.
Yeah.
I want to, one more thing on Shakur. So I always talk TV friendly type of fighters and PPV draws. Do you believe that within 2 to 3 years, he could be that face of boxing? Like, do you believe right now he's a star or he's on the cusp of stardom?
I believe he's on the cusp of star. I think he can be the biggest name in boxing. I'm talking about easy. I mean, the biggest name in boxing. That's why I would move him like the way I would move him. You know, I don't see no sense in, you know, unless he was. So he's gonna go fight the bottom tier guys at 35, and then those guys gonna go up to 140, and then you're gonna chase them there. You know, that's why I just say skip them, pass them, and go fight the bottom tier at 140.
I get it. I mean, it's almost like Dan.
You move them along slowly like that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's tough, man, because like I said, we want to watch these fights, even these PPV fights, and we want to see the excitement. And sometimes you don't have that willing dance partner. You don't have someone that's going to oblige and make it an action-packed fight. But you start to differentiate some of these weight classes, and you see where the action is: 135, 140, 147. I just think if Stevenson was 19-0 with 17 knockouts, I think the perception of him is he's an exciting fighter. He's got power. This guy's TV and fan friendly. And again, you have to kind of appreciate, I'm not saying you're not, I just think some of the boxing heads and the fans out there got to appreciate the skill, right? The skill set.
Nobody does, Rich. Nobody does. Well, I'm going to tell you, real boxing people appreciate skill. Casual boxing fans that want to just pay to see somebody get their head knocked off, they do not understand the skill. They don't see it. They want to be wowed by somebody getting their head knocked off. You know, and they want to bring up when all of these other guys were fighting, like when you talk about Floyd Mayweather.
Yeah.
Oh, he did this, he runs, he does this, he does that. Why in the world would someone take punishment when you have the skills to not get hit? Who because they say, oh my God, that was such a great fight 10 years ago. You remember that fight? And now the man, like he can't separate his teeth, and he's shaking all over the place because the people wanted to watch somebody get their head knocked off.
Yeah.
Skill wins fights. Skill, I put guys that has great skill in boxing as up top tier, some of the best ever.
Yeah.
Skill is everything to me. The stupid physicality, your forehead to forehead, just uppercutting that. No, that's not it.
Yeah. Well, you're right. I mean, and remember too, people, I think you go back and forth with, over the last several years, the influx now all of a sudden, the juice behind MMA and whatnot. And it's just, that's a show for another day. Go ahead.
That's dangerous. That thing's dangerous.
No doubt. No, and the bare knuckle, which is very extreme. I get it. But all I'm saying is I can't stand you can't win in boxing. You can't. And you can't win with the fans, and you can't win with the brain trust, and you can't win with some of the media, because the bottom line is when a guy fights and it's a boring fight, what the hell did he take the fight for? When the guy knocks somebody out, all of a sudden that guy that was 20-0 becomes a friggin' bum. It's the sport is dead. It's like, come on, man, already shut up. I mean,
Yeah.
you got the old guys on the porch,
Hmm.
screaming from the mountaintop, and they're not really appreciative of the sport. And I think a lot of it has to do with social media and how some of these. Here's another thing that pisses me off to no end. Again, you got Shakur missing weight. Okay, fine. He couldn't get down to 130. Oh, fine. Nope, I get it. But then if it's another fighter, if it's Haney, if it's Tank, if it's Garcia, they pick and choose.
Who's undisciplined and who's unprofessional?
Well, will be, and then here's ready. Now here's the narrative on this. Oh, this is fantastic. Now that he can't make 130 because now that means he's going to go 135. Enjoy it. Yeah, but hold on a second. We're ripping on these other guys for calling them undisciplined and not determined or ambitious or passionate about the sport. And how do you go? Wilder never missed weight. How can you go into a fight and not get down there if you're supposed to be world class? We pick and choose because some of these goofballs, some of these frigging clowns that are being paid by these promoters are spinning their own narrative. That's the problem I have, to be honest. It really is. At the end of the day, it's like, come on, man, be fair.
Yeah, be fair. Because if, like I said, if that was Tank this past weekend that did make weight, they will be destroying him to the fullest, like destroying him, like badly. But like I said, I mean, because I think it's the persona a lot of these guys lead to make certain people like them and dislike them, right? So you barely see Shakur on social media, you see Tank with all the chains and all the stuff like that, so that comes off as a little bit different to some people. But like people got different lifestyles. And I think every fighter should be treated the same when it comes to stuff like this. I mean, human beings can't make weight. Okay, cool. I'll try again next time. It's not like he didn't try to make weight. Screw that. I'm not going to make that. And I'm going to fight him. They can take these belts. Screw the fans. No, that's not in their heads.
No, it's just after a while, you just kind of shake your head. And, I mean, and the worst thing is a guy that I've always respected too. I don't know what happened to Teddy Atlas, man. Like, it's just, are you so soured on the sport that you constantly have to piss on it?
I love Teddy.
Listen, I'm a Teddy fan. I just told you I got respect for the guy, but
yeah, I love Teddy.
Are you at the point where now that you just have to really piss on the sport at every given chance you got?
His problem with the judges is hilarious.
But that's legit. That's legit.
God.
Because everyone has problems. I don't care if it's a local card. I don't care if it's a big time fight or PPV. That's fine, man. That's why I watch the fight with the sound on and then I turn it off, because you can see when you're watching certain networks who they're pushing, right?
So now that you say that, I'm going to take you back a little bit. And I was at the fight. I watched it closely. I was in the third row of the fight. This is the Timothy Bradley, Manny Pacquiao fight. Okay. And so many people had these like, that they cheated Manny, they did this, they did that, they did this, they did that, blah, 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 like all this other stuff. I honestly thought that fight was legit. I thought Bradley beat him for real.
Yeah, I go the other way. I thought that.
I know, but a lot of people are going to go the other way. Yeah. But I watched it. I watched it on TV. I watched it live there. I watched it 5 or 6 times already, and I still get the same thing. I get the same exact thing.
Yeah, and listen, sometimes that's the case with some of these fights. It's so subjective, right? It's when you think about the judges who are sitting ringside and they're scoring the fight, it's A, B, and C, right? What are they looking at?
Right.
I mean, think about it.
So a lot of shots that Manny was throwing.
Yeah.
A lot of shots he was coming for throwing. Yeah, he's active if you want to give him a point for being active, but a high percentage of those punches missed or hit on the shoulder or stuff like that. Like he missed a lot.
But and I can tell you from sitting ringside calling the fights, when you get the oohs and ahs of the crowd, they should not sway the officials, the judging one way. But again, if some of these guys are familiar and they know a fighter's tendencies and how they are, if they come on late, if all of a sudden they, get on the stick, they're showing the jab, they're just keeping it out there, forget about being a rangefinder. What they're showing in their eyes of the judges right now is they're being, quote, more active, right? if I'm
Mhm.
cutting you off in the ring and I'm stalking you and I'm going forward. Now they're looking at, well, Brandon Jacobs is retreating. Quinones has him right where he wants him. Now let's get the fight back in the center of the ring. Now all of a sudden the big boy's going to the body. How am I going to score that? It's so subjective. I mean,
Mhm.
I can give you 100 of fights and we can look at them and you scored one way, I scored the other way, right? I mean, it's how the sport is. All I ask is consistency. And I'm so tired of, well, the right guy won. No. It's not about the right fighter, whether it's a female or a male fighter. It's about getting the score right. And that's one of the problems we've had over the last several years in boxing. And that's when you get the clowns out of the woodwork who sit there and say, this is why the sport's dead. This is why the sport's not going to be taken serious. I mean, come on, I
Like
pulled the
Teddy.
Oh, huh?
Teddy. I said Teddy's like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man.
10,000 last night at that fight. I think the second most in that venue for a fight. So good stuff. Good stuff. All right. So we get through the opening drive on a Saturday edition of 27 with you, Brandon Jacobs, Rich Quinones. I got it. Let me get into this Herm Edwards situation.
Yes.
Like, okay, so he's out. Right. And I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that you lose, what was it? I put up 30-21 to Eastern Michigan. But now these rumors come about over the last several days that Arizona State staffers leaked information to basically, because they had enough with Herm Edwards, where they said, we're going to take it a step further. I can't take this guy anymore, man. Let me start leaking info to opposing coaches. And let's just get this guy out of here and get this guy fired. I mean, you want to talk about sabotage and setting somebody up. And I get it. They've kind of been under a microscope for the alleged recruitment violations. But if I'm a new coach and I'm going into that regime, I got to wipe the slate clean. I can't trust anyone on that staff.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I'm bringing my own staff in. I'm gonna go handpick the guys that I want to bring in from my guys I got around the country at different universities. If they would take the job, I'm not gonna go there with nobody that's been there. Everybody must go.
Yeah. But how do you? How about this? Wake is up on Clemson 28-20 with about 8 to go in the third. I'll get you an Auburn score. Don't worry. How do you? But if this is true, and now you take it from so many angles, right? You're talking about breach of contract, breach of trust, from a moral standpoint. And here's another thing. What about from a betting and gambling standpoint? I haven't heard one person mention that. Think about that. I'm leaking information that you can use towards your advantage. I mean, that's crazy. And the funny thing is with Arizona State, many, many moons ago, I think it was like 86, 87, there was a point shaving scandal in hoops. So you can take this anywhere, but do you do an internal investigation here?
I definitely think as much as a thorough investigation that needs to be done, by some very good professional investigators. It's definitely something to it. I don't think someone would want to mess up, I would call, I guess, their livelihood, because if your team is consistently losing from information you're giving away, then your ass is on the chopping block as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I would think that. Or they just, it just won't be one person that would, that'd be gone, right? So I don't know. Gambling could definitely be a big part of it, which gambling has been a part of sports for years, right? Only certain sports I'm going to, protect, because I just don't see how certain people go through everything that they go through to then turn into a game,
Yeah.
But I don't know. It definitely could be, a gambling situation. But man, me myself, I would love to coach with Coach Edwards. I would love to be a coach on his staff. He's a cool dude, and I had a lot of respect and looked up to him for a very long time. Shared the city when he was with the Jets, stuff like that. So I like Coach Edwards, man, and this is a tough situation, and it's an unfair situation he's going through right now.
Yeah, I think, remember too, that bold press conference where everyone's like, they questioned the hiring of Edwards, but he was supposed to bring that NFL type of mold. and mentality. I mean, I think sometimes you can be a really good leader of men, but not necessarily a great head coach to lead them, if that makes sense. Like, and I always go back to Mike Singletary. You know, Mike Singletary wanted players to be him.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what did he
That's
say?
not
Can't
good.
have it, don't want it, right? I mean, remember that, exactly. He was a great leader.
Absolutely.
But when you put the coach's hat on him, yeah.
Every era is different, man. Like you can't act like Urban Meyer. Tried to come to the league, didn't work out. Right? You can't coach grown men the same as the same way you can coach kids. There's a big difference, especially when they can, like these guys got families, they got wives and kids at home, and some of the things you say in college to certain kids, they just keep moving. A grown man won't do that.
I mean, but then conversely, when the Giants hired Coughlin, it was like, get this guy off our friggin' back, right? I mean, it was almost like a season or two. We want to run this guy out of town. And I don't know how much of it, all you hear the stories where he loosened up a little bit, right? He loosened up 6, 7. I don't know how much of that was true. I asked you, right? But that was a guy that came in at the right time, changed the culture around, and earned the respect of the players. But also, you would think walked in and they said, all right, look what this guy did in Jacksonville. And look what he did all those years in Boston College, in college as well. So I don't know. You tell me.
Well, for whatever reason, that at the time, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Tisch, the mayor and the Tisch family brought in Coach Coughlin with Mr. Corsi, the general manager at the time. I would like to, whatever the reason is that you brought him in, I would like to thank you tremendously for having Coach Coughlin be my coach. Okay, I'm going to say that he was a tough son of a bitch, but he was a respectful son of a bitch, and he let you express yourself. Let you express yourself as a man. I don't care if Coach would have never changed and was a little bit lenient. I loved him the way he was. I came in the league playing with him, and he changed. Because a lot of guys didn't feel like me, right? Man, this is bullshit. We get fined for not having this type of socks on, or that type of socks on, or doing this or doing that. Like, something got to change, and Coach changed. He just changed. I don't think nobody sat in his office and talked with him. Coach, well, listen, you got to change. He he realized it and created a leadership committee, right?
Yes.
Had guys like myself on it, Strahan, Antonio Pierce, Eli Manning, Sean O'Hara, Snead, like the guys were on there, Corey, Pierce, like all of these guys, like they were on the leadership committee. And we figured out what to do with what, and we communicated as a group, and then communicated to Coach Coughlin, and this is the majority, and this is, what it is. And, it's okay. A lot of stuff is okay, cool. We policed our team after that. We got our team right. So he came in and he was tough, but he started to realize things, that he was losing certain guys and changed a little bit. But for me, he was perfect, Yeah.
No, I mean, listen, he changed the whole history and complexion of that franchise, right? I mean, think about it. Parcells was on the hot seat, and then they started to win in 84 and 85, win in 86, then in 90, and then shelf life changes. You go and he retires and then bounces around here and there. Then you have the down years, and then you mentioned Coughlin. See, when you hire a guy like that, you bring in instant credibility. That's the way I look at it. And think about the last several coaches right after Coughlin, right? I mean, you had the disaster with McAdoo, you had the disaster with Shermer, Judge, and now Daboll, which seems to be the right fit, right? The New York type of guy. Speaking of coaches, what the hell is going on in Boston? Oh my goodness. What? Ime Udoka. I mean, the situation is serious, but this is beyond bizarre. This is beyond bizarre that you're going to suspend a coach, the head coach of the Boston Celtics, a talented head coach, no less, because breaking,
fraternizing.
Well, listen, I'm not condoning it. Come on, man. You can't do
No, no,
that.
no, no, no. I'm not saying you're condoning it. I'm not saying that at all. But that's essentially what he's suspended for. You know, fraternizing within the workplace.
Yeah.
A lot of companies have that. You know, I don't know if Boston do, because it's not an NBA thing. I don't know if Boston have that within their. The guy was married as well, but he won't be the first relationship to end over cheating, or the last one. You know what I mean? So it comes down to in the workplace, right? So that's why, is that why he receiving grief from it now? If because it was in the workplace, or him cheating? Which one?
So apparently the verbiage is improper interaction, even though consensual relationship with a female member of the team staff, and then unwanted comments, multiple violations. There's a couple layers here to peel. So all of a sudden it gets leaked. And now you have these, and again, this is why sometimes social media is just piss poor, man. They don't get it. Let's just throw out female names just for the hell of it, for shits and giggles.
Throw out who?
Female names. They're just throwing out female names, right? Oh, the speculation is this, or with a VP or this person. Nobody knows. But the Celtics, let me ask you, would you have kept this in-house? Or would you have leaked this? Because if you opened up Pandora's box, you leaking enough to start the fire, but yet you don't have the wherewithal to kind of smother it when it starts to become that firestorm. And that's kind of what they did. They leak it, then everyone's making all these accusations, and they're saying, you know, it's like the whisper down the lane. By the time it gets to you, you're like, what the hell? This story doesn't even make sense. So I don't know. I personally,
I would keep it in. I mean, if I'm the Celtics, if I'm in the front office and got a chance to be able to keep this embarrassment from happening to our franchise, I would definitely be wanting to be like, okay, let's just figure out how to handle this here in house. But obviously, it did get leaked.
yeah, but then how do you suspend him for a year? It's almost like an open-ended ticket. Here you go. Come back in a year. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. Either you fire him, or I'm not going to say, or you force him to resign, or you don't suspend him. I don't.
Yeah, I thought the suspension was definitely a little bizarre of a punishment for such a big situation, or a big thing like this. I definitely thought that, and when I said suspended for a year, I'm like, wow, they didn't fire him. That's interesting.
That's my point. You know? So he puts his actions put the Celtics in a bad spot. They leveled the suspension, but the suspension is open-ended. It's indefinite. All right, yeah, you know what? Then they still haven't. Here's the other problem. They haven't even explained what you're really suspending him for.
That's why I asked you earlier, what's the thing? You know, fraternizing, or, you know?
Nobody knows. I mean, we know something transpired. He had some type of relationship with there's, again, you don't want to speculate. There's reports that maybe it was a wife of a VP. I mean, no one knows, but if that's the case, then you fire the guy, and you just, it's almost as though you're trying to put makeup on the pig here, is what you're trying to do. I mean, that's exactly what they're trying to do. Think about it. No, I'm being serious here, man. Think about it. They're saying, go away, you're fired, because you know you did something you shouldn't have done, but we're going to leak it, but we're not going to let everyone really know what you did. It's like we're trying to cover up a little bit, and you can't have it both ways. You can't.
I gotta tell you, this is the first time I ever heard put makeup on the pig.
You never heard that before?
That's my first time hearing it.
You can borrow it.
Oh,
We're trying to dress it up a little bit.
Dress it up a little bit, huh?
Look, the guy, I was joking you before. I was like, come on, man, knee along. What are you doing? Have a little common sense.
Hey, man, she's a beautiful woman. There's no question about it. So is J-Lo.
Yes.
So is all of those women. They're all beautiful women, you know? It happens to them too.
Bunch of dogs, those men are. Dogs.
Yeah.
Coming from the peanut gallery. I don't get it. I don't. And then you listen to the managing partner, then you listen to Brad Stevens. I mean, you have to. I just would have fired the guy.
Yeah, I agree with them. I agree with that. I think definitely firing him would have been a better move because even when, so now this whole thing happens and going through the news, viral. Now you suspend him for a year and now he comes back and news, viral again. Now he's back. It's just too much around your franchise. That's going to be probably end up being a distraction to a lot of your players. And the great season that they had last year, I wouldn't want to, chance it now. I would definitely fire the guy and bring in somebody new.
Well, and oh, by the way, they're bringing over a 34-year-old assistant, Joe Mazzolo, who records show that he had a domestic violence case. So, I mean, again, you're suspending this guy and then you're bringing in
him, right?
I don't get it.
Is it that piss poor of a selection out there, Rich, for coaches?
I don't think it's that. I think it's, think about it. When a head coach in the NFL gets fired mid-season, who steps in?
It's the interim coach, right? That's the guy who they got the assistant head coach, yeah.
Exactly, or like a coordinator, right? It's
coordinator,
the familiarity. I mean, but they have plenty of time. I mean, think about it. I get it. The season's around the corner, but you could still have gone down a different path. That's just, it's just bizarre. I mean, you're seeing some of these, you mentioned Urban Meyer. That was doomed from the start.
I'm telling you, man, it's the Jaguars, man.
Well, Doug seems to be doing all right now. Doug Peterson.
Good luck to Coach Peterson. Good luck to Coach Peterson. I can't figure out why they just can't get it together down there, being in sunny Florida. Just can't get it right. I just don't get it.
Speaking of coaches, by the way, fired. I know you never like to talk about that, especially during the season. But I got two that I think I feel like we pick on poor Nathaniel, but I just get the sense that if this really goes south for Denver in say another 2 or 3 weeks, how do you keep him on?
You do. You keep him on. You keep him through his contract and chalk the season up. Well, let me take that back.
Yeah, I think you should walk it.
Come on back over here. Okay, I
yes,
got it.
Please.
Okay,
please walk.
Depending on the way you lose. Makes sense?
Oh,
like the one time,
yep.
Like the one time with the 64-yard field goal. That was one of those times. You can't have a lot of those.
Yes,
can't have a lot of those. But
yeah,
if you don't have a lot of those, and the team just looks like they're not ready to play, they're not prepared. I think you keep them through the season, but just doing like just wild type stuff, I think you cut them.
So they've got San Fran coming up, winnable game. The Raiders winnable game. The Colts winnable game. We don't know about the health of Herbert, but that game's till the 17th of October against the Chargers and then the Jets. So their saving grace, at least for him, might be the schedule and winning some games. And then you have McCarthy over there in Dallas where, hey, Giant fans, right? You want to keep that guy in the NFC as long as possible.
As long as possible.
Yeah.
We'll keep him there. As long as possible.
How in the world?
I totally agree with it.
Yeah. I've never really found him as a very good head coach. I think he's horrible with clock management and the play call selection. It's going to be a heck of a game Monday night, though. Tony, look, I don't think Tony's going to play. Right now, still dealing with the hamstring, limited, didn't practice. Is this maybe the game now that Kenny Golladay gets some touches?
Hey, man. I want to see Golladay. I definitely want to see Golladay. They're paying the guy too much money for us even not to see him. Like, I understand you might not throw him the ball. Just let him run the route. Just let us see him, because he's just sitting there like we don't know what's wrong with him.
He's on the sideline.
We don't know what's wrong with him. I don't know.
Yeah.
Did this new regime not like him? Like, do they not like him? Do they not, but still you're paying the guy. You got to get something out of him. You have to get something out of him no question, because he's making a whole bunch of money.
But what if he doesn't fit into your offense? What if, and again, I know it sounds goofy to say, but what if they're just like, we want guys in the slot. We want Joker, we want Shepard, and we'll deal with some of these younger guys.
Shop him then.
That's tough, man. So Tony isn't practicing today per day ball. And apparently it's going to take a miracle for him to be in the lineup on Monday. And it's unfortunate because, like I said, when he touches the ball, good things happen. I think this is a game too, though. If the Giants really want to show the rest of the league that they're at least really building something, maybe legit noise in the division, you're at home Monday night. Dallas is a banged up team. They're a wounded animal. You're feeling pretty good about yourselves. Saquon looks like the old Saquon. You've got some playmakers. Jones, maybe you let him pull the strings back a little bit and rip it. That's a game that they got to win, because if they don't, it's the same old Giants. You had an opportunity to beat a backup in Dallas and your divisional rival. That's just my take.
Well, I'll tell you what, man. It's Dallas week. And if they're pissed and it's not hard to play this game, they don't need to be. They don't need to be in the locker room.
I get
they
you.
Don't need to. And that's what Coach Coughlin said. Hey, if you're not ready to play this game, if your piss isn't hot for this game, you need to be checked on. A Monday nighter in MetLife.
But you're talking about a team that had vets, right? That won before, O-line's intact, veteran guys, all pros, Pro Bowl players, guys that have won. These are like a bunch of little pups, right? They're not running around. A Shepard's pretty much the longest tenured Giant. Maybe they just don't
that's
know.
true. That's true. But we talking about we like I came in the league in 2005, man. In 2005, and we won the Super Bowl 2 years later. So my third year.
Yeah,
I was there. We had some people coming in and out of the locker room, like that. Antonio Pierce and and Plexico Birds got there the same year that I had there. But you're right, they were veterans when they came from Pittsburgh and Washington.
Yeah.
But still, we hadn't played together like that. It was a couple of years. I don't. You know what bothered me more about the Giants game on Monday night than anything else? I don't know what Cooper Rush is gonna do. I don't know what he's going to do.
That's a great point.
That bothers me.
It's a great point. And listen, let's not forget about the backs. They've got some weapons, and you're right. He's that X factor. I don't think it changes defensively what they're going to do. Like, I still believe Thibodeau's going to play. They want to try to get pressure off the edges. You can't let the receivers go off. I think the Giants' run defense, listen, they played well. And the secondary, you look at some of the numbers from Jackson and some of the corners, they played well thus far. Granted, it's only 2 weeks. And the offensive line, that kid Thomas, you look at his numbers, if you put any stock in PFF, this guy's not letting the quarterback get touched.
Mm-mm.
See, you got to watch Parsons on Monday night. That's my concern. That kid can wreck the game.
I wanted, when that trade happened, and Dallas took Parsons,
yeah,
I really did think that the Giants were going to take him. I thought they were going to take him, and when it didn't happen, I was hurt. I was really hurt, and I thought he could have. He's one of the best players, if not the best defender in the league.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you that, and I'm going to mean it, my man. I think he is. Can't be stopped. So we'll see. It's going to be a great test for those two tackles this week. One good thing happened for me with Dallas happened in free agency. That's Amari Cooper gone.
Yeah,
he bothered me.
Yeah,
the boys over in Cleveland are balling, right?
Yeah.
So I'm glad he's gone. I'm glad Dallas did not decide to bring him back. That's one thorn that's no longer in my side.
Yeah.
So I'm happy with that. And no, man. I'm just sitting waiting to see what Cooper Rush do, man.
Well, he's the X factor. The thorn when you were playing, it was so annoying to always watch was Witten. Like, he just
yes.
always found a way, man.
That's my favorite tight end right there, man. He was Mr. Reliable.
Yeah.
He's gonna block you on the outside zone, gonna try to pancake you, and he's gonna run good routes, great possession receiver.
Yeah.
He gave you everything you wanted as a coach.
Yeah. It Plax was an Eagles killer, and then Witten was a Giants killer, man. It's just,
my God, man.
and the way he positioned himself too, like and he was so slow. Like
he was so heavy too. Like he used to catch the ball.
Yeah.
And his back returned to the defense. And like James Butler and all the DBs would come and hit him, and you could see the weight of him when they hit him. They don't move him at all. They get him like they get him down, but boy, when they hit him, he just feels like, and he just slowly falls to the ground. But I'm like, man, that's a big heavy dude.
You know, I went back after we spoke last week, and I texted my buddy who's a big time Cowboys fan, and I sent him the clip of you and I, and he's like, why are you heckling right now? And then he just wrote back, Patrick Creighton. I said, hey man, it was a I said you gotta catch the football, man.
Patrick Creighton. So man, that guy, he used my name in something. He said something. He said something about me when they told him, oh, I hate Dallas, and he was like, who said that? That pissed me off. That pissed me off. And that was the time when we beat him. I was gonna go, and I had a pretty good game actually. I was gonna go tell him this is who it was. But on the way over there, I got pushed in the back by big sorry ass slowpoke ass Mark Colombo.
I knew you
I got pushed in the back by him. And then Coach Gearbauer was right there. And I did not want to, I did not want to, because Coach Gearbauer was an older guy. That's what I love him to death. He was an older guy. And I'm like, he ain't going to be able to stop me. I might hurt Coach Gearbauer. Let me go and calm down. But if people have been talking about a boxing match on Twitter with me and Colombo, I'm down. I'm game. I'll take it anytime. Let me know when. I'm ready.
What kind of purse are we looking at? Is that a 60-40 split?
Hell, not in a 64. He could take all the money just to get me in the ring. He could have it all.
That's funny, man. That's funny. You got coaching today?
Yeah, I do. I'm good. I'll be all right.
We got a couple more minutes. I just want to make sure, you can't arrive late. You got to be confident, right? You got to tell these guys.
Yeah, I'm not coaching them. I'm just going to another team in my program. I'm going to my 8th grade team is playing, so I'm going to go watch them play, and I think they're playing that. Let me check it. Let's see if they got back to me yet. But what's up, man? Go ahead. I'm ready. So the game's at 5, so we good.
All right, just checking. So good action this weekend. Cleveland, they turned around, and I think it's time. They're going to go to Pickett. If you're Pittsburgh, you got to stop with Trubisky, but that's a good win for Cleveland. You got the Eagles tomorrow against Washington. That should be an interesting game. And then actually, while we have a couple minutes, Green Bay and Tampa. I mean, this might be the last time as fans, it's the Brady Rodgers matchup unless they play in the playoffs. I mean, I always think there's going to be these quarterbacks that you really can't appreciate until they're,
man, let's go to fantasy with it. I made a decision this past, I guess, early Thursday. I had Aaron Rodgers starting on my team. Hadn't particularly lit it up for me in the previous 2 weeks. And I've been watching Jacoby Brissett through preseason and stuff like that. And I put Aaron Rodgers on the bench and put him in, and he actually did pretty good for me. And just because I looked at who the Packers were playing and saw, it was Tampa that got a really good defense. And so I'm taking my chances. I'm hoping Aaron Rodgers don't light it up because I got him on the bench.
Brissett was very, very efficient. It's funny, man, as great as Rodgers is, man, guys went in there when they were 15-1. That's all I'm saying. I mean,
oh yeah, we got them, and we put it to them too. We did them pretty good. Like my touchdown at the end kind of made it seem worse than what it was, but
38-13.
That's what it was. We punched it in.
38-20. Yeah. No, that was
38-20.
Yeah. Hall of Famer, man. Don't get me wrong, but one ring.
One rings. Yeah. He has one. Been to the championship game.
Several times.
So had a good career.
They took the ball out of his hands 2 years ago against Tampa Bay when Tampa Bay won it. I mean, you're taking the ball out of Aaron Rodgers' hands. Come on.
he's definitely a Hall of Famer. So let's say he retires this year, right? Would you be pissed if they put him in the Hall of Fame before Eli?
Yes. But I mean, and I'm the
I'll be
biggest,
pissed too.
I'm the biggest Eli fan in the world, but I know that, I mean,
I am going to Canton with a red jug and one little bitty piece of paper, and I'm going to burn it down. Burn it down.
Nah, Eli's eventually going to get it. He is. And like I said, regular season, maybe he didn't light the world on fire, but the runs 2011 and the playoffs, he was a clutch quarterback. I mean, and the numbers speak for themselves. So, I was a Sims guy, a big time Sims guy growing up. And then, it was Eli. I mean, that's just, and even when he was throwing picks, I was kicking and screaming, defending him until the cows came home. Anytime, listen, a quarterback gives you a division championship or gets you to playoffs, that's great. He gets you a couple playoff wins, wonderful. He gets you to a championship, hey, we got something. He gets you to a Super Bowl, let alone 2, and you win 2 of them. And you want to argue, all right, maybe not the MVP the first time, but it doesn't matter. He won 2, man.
He's a Hall of Famer. He's a Hall of Famer. It should be one more year. I say next year around, when they're putting their ballot together, they definitely got to have him on. Definitely.
All right, big man. We're running out of time. So you got your coach and you got your fanism today. Then you'll probably be perched out on the sofa tomorrow. You don't have to worry about falling asleep for the Giants game because they play Monday.
It's a Monday night, right? I can't believe that, man. I was so bored. Watching Daniel Jones throw 8-yard passes for a whole series kind of drove me to the, I'm like, damn.
I'm like 13 texts in, and I'm like, how come this dude's not texting me back?
I was out, man. I was out. Woke up in the fourth quarter and saw all of your messages.
I'm like this. But come on, man. I'm like trying to see if like bubbles are coming up, if the message was read.
Nothing. I got up and I read them all. I was like, wow, I really fell asleep, Rich.
That's funny, man. Hey, don't forget, everyone, subscribe to the YouTube channel 27Q. Follow Brandon on all social media as well. IG, Twitter, myself, Twitter, IG, Facebook. We post a lot of stuff. We got some new content. We'll dive into a lot more boxing Tuesday, Wednesday, week 3. We'll put a bow on it. We'll mix in a little college football. We got some guests jumping on too. In the next couple of weeks, we'll try to work in some fighters. And I'm glad we got a little Saturday edition. And how about that?
Real Saturday edition, man. We got some working on this Saturday. Beautiful Saturday, man. Rich, I'm glad you're doing well, brother.
You too, man. You too. So I would say it's almost hot toddy weather, man. If it drops a little more, it's almost hot toddy. But we got
the last couple of mornings have been really chilly.
Really? It's
yeah.
It's right around 62, 60. Once it starts to dip and we start to put chilly. We put the sweats on, then it's hot toddy weather.
Yeah.
That means we'll be lucky.
So what do you put in your hot toddy, man? Like what? Because I drink them, but I don't know what my wife put in them. I don't know what the alcohol is she put in it.
Sprinkle like maybe a little sambuca, maybe a little rum here and there.
Yeah, that's what we do. We sit up and drink hot toddies, watch Netflix, and smoke hookah. That's what we do.
You smoking and joking. You and the hookah.
Hey man, the hookah is great.
No doubt. All right, brother. Always appreciate you. Have a good Saturday. We'll hit it again during the weekend. As always, we appreciate everyone tuning in.
All right, Rich, man. Be good, man.
All right, be well, brother. Take care.